Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, let's welcome today's speaker, Meridith.
My name's Meridith, and I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank Al for asking me to speak today. It's one of the blessings of being the secretary for the past 6 months. It's allowed me 6 months to obsess about what I'm going to say today. And believe me, I have. I'd like to say I was born in Los Angeles, and my mother was an actress. My father was in Little Theater. My stepfather was an agent. I graduated from Hollywood High, so it's not my fault. I think from hearing people speak at all the meetings over the years, I've come to realize that I guess I had all the alcoholic personality from when I was a child. I certainly didn't fit in. I had no sense of myself. I didn't identify with anybody. I didn't have any friends. I'd resort in school to trying to make myself attractive to people so maybe you would like me, because I didn't get how the interrelationships worked. When I was 8 years old, in 3rd grade, I wore falsies to school. I thought you'd like me. I was so upset by what I'd done, actually, but it was a very, very hot day, and I wouldn't take off my coat, and I was dying, realizing what I had done, and there was no way to take them off. I didn't know what to do with them, frankly. I used to stand up in front of the class and say, "Oh, my mother's going to be on M Squad tonight. You like me?" Anything to try and get someone's attention, to maybe make myself more attractive, because I just didn't feel like I had the goods otherwise. It had to come from an outside source. That's what I started to identify in the rooms later. I thought it had to come from somewhere else because there was no inner life for myself. I started using drugs when I was about 15 or 16. My brothers, that's the best thing about having older brothers, they introduced me to acid and speed, and I was just so happy to do it. In fact, we really resorted to desperate measures when we ran out of the pills. Someone had said you can get really high off a Vicks inhaler. But what you have to do is you have to hammer the little mother till it breaks apart, get that cotton out of the inside, cut it up into swallowable sizes, and swallow that cotton. Well, I can tell you, I don't remember if there was a high. I was so nauseous from it. But I hadn't thought about that in so long, and I realized that it was just anything. There was just a cavalier attitude, like, why not approach to drugs. I do remember at some point thinking about the amount of speed that my friends and I were taking. And I did wonder, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Handfuls of Dexamils and Ambars and stuff. Stuff that enabled me to just black up and wake up 15 years later with my second husband and 5 kids, and I didn't know how it happened. I sort of look at them sometimes going, where'd you come from? I didn't want to get sober. Alcohol had... I think I was a periodic for a long time, and I didn't really think about that, but just about the time I think I started drinking very solidly for 5 years as a solution, because the marriage that I had put myself in, and oh, did I ever put myself in it. For a long time I hung out with the idea, really dined out on the idea that I was a victim of this terrible relationship I was in. My mantra was, I can live through this. And I could, but what I didn't realize was that all the decisions that I had made to put myself there, that this was, I married someone who was a real control freak, a violent person, an angry person, but he was very smart and he could do a lot of stuff. He had opinions, and I thought, that's the guy for me, because I won't have to be responsible. He will take over my life. The difficulty was he did indeed, and then I didn't like it. But by that time I was too committed to the idea of not having to be responsible, not having to show up, and there was no way out except drinking, and drinking really did it for me. I worked late hours, and I would find myself, I would drink as much as I could at work until they started to get upset, and then I would take a nice big glass of wine between my knees and drive home along Wilshire Boulevard, seeing how long I could stay at 70 miles an hour from Hollywood to Santa Monica. And I remember thinking at one point, oh God, my picture is on the letterhead of Mothers Against Drunk Driving this month. This is cool. Won't it be a gas if I get pulled over? It never troubled me. I never got pulled over, but it was sheer luck. And the fact that I never killed anybody and never had an accident as a result of my drunk driving is astonishing to me. I used to drive home from my parents' house in Malibu, piling my little kids in the back of the car, and I would just watch that white line on the side of the road. That's the only way I got back. And I don't know how I managed to do it without hurting anybody, but I'm grateful that I did. Alcohol really became the solution to me. It was the only way I could get through life. And I started using it to get through work, too. It reached the point where they would say that they were ready for me for whatever I was going to do that day, and I'd just say, just 1 second, hand my wine off to somebody else and sashay into the work situation, thinking that I was cutting a very rakish figure. I thought I was cool. I thought I'd arrived. I thought I was going to be in the one control now, because I never had any sense of having that otherwise. The alcohol made that possible. It took away my fears. It made it possible for me to go in and do what I'd actually been able to do sober before, but I'd reached such a point of fear and low self-esteem. I'd really honed that, so that fear. It was just so prominent. Everything was to cover up the fear, and the anger, and the loneliness, and the shame. The last job that I had before I stopped drinking was up in Vancouver, and when I came back to Los Angeles, one of the women I'd worked with who had hired me said, let's have lunch. And somehow I knew what that was about, and she said, do you have a problem with alcohol? No. Oh my God, how could you say it? What an insult. And she said, well, the difficulty is that we can't understand. We're looking at the work that you've just done, and your eyes aren't focused, and we can't understand you. And I really didn't see how that could have been the case, but the only thing that I saw was that my work was being threatened. My personal life was a shambles. I had no friends. I had no relationships. I had nothing. I had no relationship with my family. The only thing that I thought I had was work. So she said that, you know some people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And the only reason I called them, crying and sobbing, thinking this is the most humiliating thing I could imagine, the only reason I called was because I wanted to save the work. So 2 women who I admired terribly, who'd actually seen me lying on the floor of an elevator with someone else I was working with, laughing my head off, thinking we were just so funny. This was one of the women I wound up calling, and I remember thought, as I was lying on the floor of that elevator, she has a Perrier. And she was looking at me, and she'd seen me drive at 85 miles an hour on the freeway. And she said, "I'm so glad you're getting sober. I thought you were going to kill somebody." Well, I'd never even had that thought, and I thought, well, she's an alarmist. So I started coming into the rooms, and I couldn't bear it. I sat in shame and anger. Smoke came off of me. I didn't want to see you. I didn't want you to talk to me. Do not sit next to me. Don't ask me a question. Don't give me your phone number. But you did, and you smiled at me. And I have a drawer at home full of the phone numbers that people gave me, the sweet messages people gave me. I never called one person. I couldn't. I had too much shame. I know you didn't really mean it. But I just loved that you gave them to me. When I realized I would listen to you and you talk about if you want what we have, I didn't want what you had, but I sure wanted you. I was so lonely. I didn't know. I felt I had no tools. I didn't know how to relate to people. I didn't know how to show up for anybody. More than anything, I wanted to avoid responsibility. Please don't nail me. Please don't tell me I'm the one that has to do this, because I don't know anything. Any work situation I was in, I still feel this once in a while, I just know that someone's going to come up and go, "Meridith, come with us. A terrible mistake has been made." And I'm going to have to leave. When Richie had wanted me to consider being a secretary about a year and a half ago, and when he first nominated me, I said, "I'm unreliable." Because better I say it than you say it. I didn't want to be found out. Anyway, I hung around, and I brought my first big book up because a dear woman in the program had made this for me. She knew the shame that I had, that I could not possibly open up this book, even in my home, if it said Alcoholics Anonymous on the cover. So she made this even more anonymous for me. And I've kept this on as a reminder of first her loving gesture, understanding where I was coming from. And I like to remind myself that I don't feel that way today. For the first 7-8 years, I would say, "Oh yes, I'm in the program." I couldn't say Alcoholics Anonymous. It carried such weight, such a stigma in my mind, I couldn't tell you what it was. But that's not there anymore. I feel very proud to be here now. What I've come to see is that my problems are a direct result of the solutions that I've come up with for the problems in my life. Ranging from when my parents sent me away to boarding school, I felt my heart broke. All I saw was abandonment, that they didn't love me, didn't want me around, that I was superfluous. So my solution to that was to kill myself. I wasn't very good at it, but I got the attention that I needed, and I was brought home. But no one ever talked to me about it, and I just thought, well, I'm just crazy. I wanted to be able to take care of my kids better, so I marry someone who I think can do the job, but creates so many other problems for me in my life. I get into financial situations, business situations. I ignore the facts. I don't pay attention to what is obvious to other people about the people I'm getting associated with. And again, I'm in a couple of lawsuits right now, directly as a result of my unwillingness to be responsible and ask the questions. It's my fear of thinking I'm not entitled to. But the good thing is that I'm learning to look at myself. I guess I think of myself sort of as I've heard this in the room, so it doesn't originate with me, but as a tile in a mosaic. My job, and if you're a piece of the tile, you cannot possibly see the pattern that's been created. My job is to detach myself from the stickiness that's holding me in that mosaic and kind of step outside and go, "Quick, what does it look like? See the pattern? Oh, okay." And then say, "Okay, what do I change?" to break out of this terrible pattern I'm in, because it's so destructive for me. I just do the same thing all the time. Learning to, I did a 4th step not too long ago on my mother who died. Goodness. My mother died 3 months ago. And I was lying in bed this morning and I thought, gee, wherever she is, she's probably taking a 90-day chip. Okay. So this is good. And her death, I think, has made me stop and look at a lot of the pattern. My old ideas that I thought were facts. I'm now coming to say, oh, that's faulty, wasn't it? And then changing. And I don't want to change. It's easier to contemplate the idea of, in some sense, living the same way, no matter how miserable it has made me, rather than change, because it's just painful. I'm lazy, and I don't want to be responsible for the change. If you can come in and change me, that'd be real nice. I'd actually talk to you about it. We can, work out a deal so that I don't have to do it. But I'm grateful to Roz, who is my sponsor, who actually betrayed me. I picked Roz to be my sponsor because she was moving to Iowa. And it was great. It was great. So there was an excuse, time zone, difficulty contacting. So I had an excuse for not calling. And then she came back. And I'm not much better at calling. But there's a wealth of wisdom and serenity and a spiritual life that she attempts to pass on to me when I am open to it and when I call her. I'm going to open up for questions now. I thank you very much for being here. Jim?
Meredith, thank you so much for the last 6 weeks.
Thank you.
I was wondering why you did it, and what you learned from the experience.
Jim's asking me why I did it and what did I learn from the experience. I have to say, I'm sorry? Why I became secretary of the meeting and what I learned from it. I learned that I could do it. I was full of such fear. There is a huge number of people in here. It is an unwieldy meeting in many ways. I had no concept of what the parking situation meant, what the fragility of our having this meeting, how fragile that was, and if people continue to park in the wrong places, we will lose this meeting, and how scary that is for me. And I'm saying that to all of you who are parking in the wrong places. I felt a part of. And that was a big deal for someone who does not feel a part of. I must get off in being outside of, or I wouldn't do it all the time. But I tell you, it has meant the world to me to be here. I like coming in and feeling like, okay, I know it's supposed to be happening. I got a real investment in the seats being taken care of in the right way. And what really surprised me was that I developed an ability to not get into it with people who were stepping outside of what was accepted. And that's kind of against the grain for me because I do like to control things. But, people are always going to be abusive of the situation. And am I going to take them all on? Unlikely. So just letting it happen the way it's going to happen, you set down the rules and just expect that people will deal with them honorably and hope that they do, and they usually do. So I've loved this. This has been a huge experience for me. Thank you. Yes. Hi, Allie. Hi, Allie.
Can you talk about your 9th step and how you started making your amends and do that?
The question is how I dealt with the 9th step. I started, I think I made my first amends after I'd been sober for 2 weeks. So it was a sorry picture. I there was someone who'd been in charge of the work that I had done at my last job, which was just a liquid appearance. I sort of gushed all over him. I'm so sorry. It was just hysterical and all about me, and sense of actually what I really had, the situation I had created for him, and how divisive I'd created the workplace. It was just difficult. It had been very difficult for him, and actually a couple of years later, I was able to make a more direct, honorable amends to him. Most of my amends have been to my children, some of whom I drank with. Yeah, great fun. I thought, hey, I must be a good mom. They want to be here with me. And a lot of them is to people who I've abandoned along the way, friendships that I didn't know how to keep. Those were the biggest deals. And I'm sure that more will be uncovered as I go along, which is kind of the way it works. Thanks. Yes.
Hi, I'm Meridith. Hubert, alcoholic.
Hi, Hubert.
How many fourth steps did you take before you actually were satisfied, and how often do you do a 10 step?
How many fourth steps did I do before I was satisfied, and how often do I do a 10-step? I'm actually on a fourth step now. I don't know if it's my third or my fourth. I'd asked Roz to help start me going through the steps again, and I was actually at a step meeting and was reading the fourth step, and as I was reading it, and I don't read the 12 and 12 very often unless I'm in a step meeting. I swear it was like, holy shit, I didn't know that was in there. And I started to look at stuff entirely different. I guess it's just new levels, and I saw so many areas came to mind where I've been dishonest and self-seeking, and the self-delusion. Oh my God! It was exhausting. It was exciting and exhausting at the same time, because I saw I have so much work to do. So I am in the middle of that right now and not doing it very well, because I get then panicked and start writing in the wrong direction. But someone else did tell me, if you're writing, you're doing it right. That's it. As long as you're sitting, focusing on the process, there's nothing wrong about it. The 10th step, I do periodically. I try to keep current all the time. I try to, if I screw up, I try and address it right away. And that usually winds up going on with my children. I liked Rick saying that he, has to apologize, making amends to his kids all the time, and that's certainly what I'm doing. Because I get crazed, I abandon them because I get so self-centered and have to do what I want to do. But the beauty is, I have my youngest are 18-year-old twins, and my youngest, the girl, comes to the meeting with me quite frequently. I wouldn't let her come today. I said it'd make me self-conscious, but I hear her talk the meeting to people. She was on the phone the other day with her boyfriend, and she said, he's having a fight with his mother. Yeah, but did you think about your part in this? So I feel sort of like a passive evangelical sober person here. So thanks. Yes. Hi, Mia. I think I understand the question to be, how do I deal with humility?
Like when you first start, how did you, with all having potential things like this, and people telling you right, how do you get that humble to say that?
You want to come up and put that question here? The question is, how do I deal with humility in early sobriety and surrender? I think you're talking about being a little public. And when I first got sober, I was really resentful, and I felt I had a big built-in right that I did not get to be as anonymous as you. And that pissed me off. Well, I talked to someone else who, in the program, who has a higher, much higher public profile, and he said, "That's not your problem." Oh, okay. I found that that was just a way to keep me separate from you. And I think as soon as I understood that, then it was, more than anything, I wanted to be a worker among workers. I wanted to be one of you so badly. And this came from that terrible loneliness that I felt. I loved knowing that you were there, but please stay there. You know, I don't want you too close. I just want you there. And I want to know that you're there. And that's why I love coming to the meetings, because I see you there all the time. I don't know what to do about people saying you're great, because I don't hear it often enough to have to really deal with it as an issue. I'll let you know. Thank you. In the very back. Hi, Rob. It's about speaking about the 11th step, prayer and meditation. I should say first that I am just beginning to check out meditation. I've always used the excuse of this mind that just won't sit still. I'm sorry, I can't control it. So, and I think maybe I'm just so basically impatient, I haven't really tried to do it. But the day I decided to try the prayer that people I'd heard about in the program all the time, that's when things really started to turn around for me. And I don't think I really started that till I was 9 years sober. So that's like 3.5 years. But what I do is I do it on a daily basis. I have to get on my knees every morning. And what I found is if I stand up and walk into the bathroom first, I'm screwed. I'll never go back. I've forgotten already. I was telling someone the other day that I feel like it's uncover, discover, and forget. I cannot hold on to any idea I've had for more than a few minutes. So to rectify that, I don't stand up. I roll out of bed, hit the floor, and I say my prayers. And I've taken a combination of some of the prayers in the book and adding my own a litany of people that I do pray for, people who are real beasts in my life, who've created real problems for me. And like someone had said that in a reference to one of my ex-husbands, the bevy of them. He said, someday this person, if you pray for this person every day, this person will be like a gnat, will not bother you. And it's true. I would never have believed it. I thought this person was a toxic. Well, it's a toxic gnat, okay. But there is that, and I would always have that reaction, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And it has to be because of the prayer, because nothing else has changed. He hasn't, but that little bit in me has. Yes, anybody else? Yes. Hi, Deborah. Do I sponsor women, and how has it affected my recovery? I do sponsor women, and I tell you, I got to spend some time on the phone yesterday with a woman I sponsor, 2 women I sponsor, and grand sponsees, however you call them. And I thought, because I was spiraling my way into a real panic about speaking this morning. Don't waste any time. Start panicking as far in advance as you can. It really sets the stage for you. And I felt so good when I got off the phone. And it's not because I have such great things to say. I can't solve my own issues, but when I step back, because I am not a piece of that mosaic, I can stand back and get some distance and see what's going on a little bit easier. Then I have some observations, and everything I have has come from things that other people in the program have said to me. So what I do is it makes me feel grounded. It makes me feel like, okay, maybe I have a little value here. I've got something to pass on. So that's, it's been lovely for me. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about your work and how it went being sober and working?
The question is my work and what it was like being sober and working. I had 2 jobs quickly in succession after when I was about 6 months, no, about 4 months sober. I wound up working with the same people I'd worked with on the job where I had behaved so badly. And I was in a panic. I was in absolute panic. First of all, I didn't think I could do my work. I didn't think I had anything to offer. I'd lost it all because, you know, if there wasn't some Chardonnay on hand, I was screwed. But it wasn't a very good job anyway, so maybe no one was going to see it, so it wouldn't matter. But to me, it mattered because my ego was very much involved. What I did is I sought out some of the people that I had worked with before, and I made some amends, just to say, I'm sorry if I made your job harder. There wasn't a lot that I could do, and everyone, what the surprise was, they went, why, what? I didn't see anything. But the job was for me to do it and to make that amends. When I was 6 months sober, I was doing a job. I'm an actor, and I was doing a job in out of town, and I was sitting at a bar over a glass of scotch, looking in the mirror, playing an alcoholic who's trying not to drink. Yeah, the irony was not lost on me. And I looked in the bar mirror there, and I thought, I've got 6 months. This is so cool. But I didn't tell anybody. When I had 2 years of sobriety, I did a job about a true story about a woman who was an addict, an alcoholic. And I worked with it was her husband and wife had sold the story, and we were telling their story. And I worked with them a little bit to get some information more about their life than was in the script. And I couldn't tell them. They were sober and had been for like 6 years. I couldn't tell them that I was an alcoholic. I don't really know what was at work. I was ashamed for me. It was like, it's okay for you guys. I love that you're sober. I love that, but I don't want you to know that I am. And I guess it's that grandiosity, because what will you think of me? But I just couldn't say it. And I felt really bad later because I found out that the woman went out in a not great way afterwards. But all I knew is that I stayed sober. And I have been here ever since. I'm sure my time is up. I've just had that confirmed. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.